Alright guys, today we have Joseph, who just finished third with, guess what, Doflamingo. Let's go Doffy gang. Hey, shout out to Doffy. Doffy's gotten Joseph 2 serial Luffys now. Hey, that's hype. So Joseph versed a lot of red today. I think he versed 6 red decks and 2 black decks, only losing 1 round to a black deck. I forgot to record the intro, but yeah, so we're going to get into that.
Smooths out those hands that you don't see one of these two. Then we'll go into the Warlords. So I've got 4 of the 6k Moria. Kind of ridiculous that this is the best one, but at least in some matchups, it's for sure is the one that puts on the most pressure and sort of gets you ahead. We got 4 of the starter deck Moria. That's crucial for picking up what you need from the bin. Usually either blockers or 2Ks, but something that I had been doing, which I stopped today, was I actually used to play 1 Blackbeard. Not because I thought it was, you know, the best choice to sort of have in the Warlord spread, but just having that 1 and eventually getting it in your bin would let you pick it up with Moria if you needed it like late game to sort of push through to kill something or go for victory. But in the end, I decided to cut that 1 Blackbeard, so I'm not playing any of the Blackbeards. 4 Moria, Kuma and 4 Hancock. Both blockers, kind of crucial to just have blockers to sort of swing the tempo when you need them. And both of them have their other good advantages. Obviously, Boa keeping your hand full, and Kuma sort of giving you the tempo when you manage to pair it with Pacifista. Speaking of which, there's 4 of those in here.
Nice, nice.
And then only 3 of the promo Jinbei. Only got 3. Would I play the 4th one if I had it? I don't know. It's 3's fine. Like, didn't feel like I missed it. You could pop another one in if you really wanted to. And that's all the Warlords. Besides the 2k Moria counter. It's not Moria, Mihawk.
Yep.
And then also we've got 4 Alvidas as well for the 2ks.
Awesome.
I have a couple of law blockers. I mean, this card's not been that good with all the ways to sort of remove small stuff easily, but you know, having that couple there to sort of put that thing in the way when you need it has been fine. Then top end wise, I've got 3 Mihawks and actually 1 starter deck, Doflamingo. Now the reason for this spread, so I just couldn't play the 4th Mihawk because like it just clogs the hand too much. You would just felt like you would have more hands where you can't play anything or you can't get a card out of your hand and you don't have any counters left. So I didn't want to play 4, but I did want a bigger one. So I went with the Doflamingo just because you can sort of go one to the other on the 7 Don and 9 Don turns, and that's much more smoother for the curve. And also like it makes, I guess, the last card that I've got here, which is 3 Love Mellows. You can sort of like pair these 2 up in the same turn, whereas you can't pair them up with Mihawk, and that's another reason why I'm only playing 3. It's an incredible counter. It gets you out of so many tight spots, but Dawn just feels so much tighter than it ever did sort of through set 1. And so whilst I would say this was the best card in the deck in the past, I just decided to play 3 to just reduce those hands that clog.
To that, if you do like this deck profile and this sort of content and want to see more of it, remember to like and subscribe. It really does help.
Yes, 50 cards.
Nice. Well, yeah, that looks awesome. I have a few questions. So, did you find yourself summoning Alvito much in the Zoro or Luffy matchup?
Very rare to play Alvida early like that. I guess I didn't do it today, and I rarely do, to be honest. I guess it would only happen if you don't have a searcher early,
yep.
In which case you sort of have to get something on board. And like the 2 or 3 times I've ever tried that, it sort of has just done nothing for the entire game.
So I also
I've died. So usually I don't play it early.
I also agree. In OPO 1, I used to do it when I went second and didn't have a Perona, but now because of Vista in the meta, playing that and then it getting Vista or like 2k counter versus that matchup is just so important.
Your opponent.
And how was Boa today? Did you I found myself struggling to get her draw effect a little bit more versus Zoro in this meta with the Atamas and so on.
Yeah, I was a bit down on Boa as well to start with, but like, you know, to be honest, like a lot of the Warlords are sort of interchangeable. And Boa was was fine. Like I drew quite a few cards today, actually, much more than some of the previous tournaments that I played with it. So that was a bit of a surprise, but
She
yeah,
can snowball the
I had
game
no
if she
problem
can
with
get a
it.
couple draws off for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What I have not had as often, which I used to get all the time back in the day, is you get the Hancock down on your first leader ability with 3 Don, and sort of just, they can just never catch up with her
Yep.
without a removal. But I haven't been able to do that for a long time anymore. But it's been a nice sort of play in the sort of mid game.
And so I noticed you only have the 2 1-drop lore. I remember you saying how about Teach, how it's nice just to have the Teach in the bin, similar to how it's kind of nice to have lore in the bin for the potential of Gecko Mori in that late game too. Similar like that, or?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like that's always the option, and like something I find happens against the Whitebeard opponents, like just because they can kill this card with their Whitebeard when it's in play, doesn't mean you can't play it down, because that will tie up 2 of their Don for the turn, and they don't really want to be putting 2 Don on a Whitebeard, because the Whitebeard will just smack anything for free. So even that, forcing them to do that, like that, you're up a Don.
Yep.
Yeah, and then sometimes that makes the difference.
Essentially, you're summoning a 2k counter, and then if they want to go back into Whitebeard, it prevents kind of that it gets good value.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And then I just block with it as soon as they don't kill it. I just block with it and get its value while you can.
How'd the 1-drop Doffy go for you? Did you get the discard effect off at all, or just summoning to get the stack?
So I did do the discard effect, maybe like once when it mattered, but like what was really wild today is that I think I only had Perona on turn one time. I actually had the Doffy three or so times early, so it was incredible to have it, because if they weren't in the deck, then how many hands would I have had today with no searches? So that was really nice. Sort of proved its worth there.
Yeah.
And then the ability is does come in handy, as you say, against some of the red decks.
And it forces the Zoro to sometimes, like I noticed it getting Vista'd quite a few often times. So it's kind of cool that it forces them to do that. Because if they spend their 3 mana to summon a Vista and just kill your 1-drop Doffy, yeah, that's pretty good actually, I think.
Yeah, you're happy when they do that, or I even had someone, kill Peronas with Vistas, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
The last thing I was going to hit on is the 7-drop Doffy and the 9-drop Mihawk. You already covered that a little bit, but I was also going to mention, like, having the 7-drop, like, compared to having 4 Mihawks, versus Whitebeard, playing that Doffy on curve is super strong, and also potentially versus green too. You can bounce sometimes. Unlikely that they'll play a 7-drop kid, but if they do, or it can bounce a Yamato, or yeah, it's mainly for the Whitebeard I found it. That 7-drop Doffy does insane work. You can bounce so many good cards versus that deck.
Yeah, I agree. It's like such a huge tempo swing in that matchup, because like they're never really going to be able to get even a vanilla 6k back down after you bounce it, because that's just not how the match plays up.
Well, is there anything else you want to mention? Any shout outs you want to give?
Not really. Just I mean, I've been pretty much chatting only to you about Doffy and not that much. So it's been good to have someone to bounce off in regards to that. We tried a few things that didn't end up making this list, but yeah, I think it's been. I've been glad that I've stuck with the deck, even though it sort of doesn't seem to be considered top tier around the metagame, because second serial Luffy with it. So
yes. Wait, same with us. Wait, we both got both treasure cups. Both of us have.
Yeah, the treasure cups have done well for us.
Treasure cup Doffy gang. All right, guys, if you're playing treasure cup, bring the Doffy. Doffy gang goes hard at treasure cups. Last thing I was gonna ask you, how are you? What is your prediction for Doffy heading into OPO 3 and OPO 4? I bring them up because there's 2 key cards I want to mention. In OPO 3, there is I think a 4 mana card that puts a 5 cost to the bottom of the deck, which is huge. Finally, a removal. And then the big card that we've seen recently in set 4 is a 6 mana card that puts any of their minion to the bottom of the deck. You can put Kid, 10-drop Kaido. That's like, finally, there's actually going to be a removal for this deck. Does that just, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't pay too much attention to the sort of unreleased cards, just too much other things to do, but I did see that event you're talking about, and that fills in every gap this deck needs. Yeah.
All right, that wraps it up. Thanks so much for your time, and shout out again to Joseph. Congrats with this is his second serial Luffy he's won with Doflamingo, doing it proud. So that's awesome to see.
Thanks for having me.